Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, racing fans from around the world, welcome to our Tuesday night truck series. I am Scott Kolovic, this is KMA TV, and we're running along with KMA Racing tonight. I want to give a big shout out there to Jason Russo of Pro Automotive. Pro Automotive, ASC Certified Mechanics, our sponsor for our Tuesday night truck series. All right, ladies and gentlemen, they ran caution-free last night in the Xfinity class. We're going to see if they can do it again tonight. Tonight we are running the Chevy Silverados and the Toyota Tundras out here at New Hampshire on a 1-mile track. Not really a short track, not really a big track, but I tell you what, a lot of fun. Plenty of room to go, 5 wide. But like I said, last night they really took their time around this track. Went caution-free. David Washington, a stunning victory. David Washington not joining us tonight, so it is anybody's race out here tonight. Taking a quick look at our grid, we've got Dan LaFoe out there in front with a 29.544. Edward Bray, 29.746. Starting in second position. Ronald Hartfeld in third. Lee Staples sitting back in fourth. And Ivan Garcia rounding out our top 5. Gary Whitmer Jr. starting in 6th. David Casey back in 7th. Jason Russo, our sponsor for the night, over in 8th position. Gary Whitmer Sr. in 9th. Joel Guy near the rear in 10th position, along with the number 11 of Chris Hogue. All right, not necessarily a huge field out here tonight, not necessarily a small field. We got just about the right amount of drivers out here tonight to hopefully get some good racing going in. Pace car is in. Dan LaFoe, Edward Bray side by side, green flag down. Big shout out there to Becky Whitmer. Becky Whitmer joining us tonight to root her boys on. A little bit of contact there between Dan and Edward early on. Tight, hard racing early on between the number 11 and the number 66. Number 64, Lee Staples, tight in tow. We're off to a very good start out here tonight. How about it, Dave? Have you got a copy?
Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good, good. All right, so I see you didn't make that grid out there, so you're going to join me up here in the booth for a little bit. What are your thoughts about New Hampshire early on?
I did some testing earlier for the team, and it felt pretty good in the long run to me.
Well, I tell you what, last night, David Washington completely, he just blew the guy's way. 121 laps led of 125, and we often talk to you about you being a long-run driver. Here in New Hampshire, is that what it takes?
Yeah, it's real easy, probably about midway, to really scrub them tires and lose a lot of speed, which I think a lot of us were doing last night.
Well, right now, we have got a caution out. We do know that the number 52 was involved along with the number 14. We've got it on our replay. And right there, early on, we've got the number 14 and 52 door-to-door and a bump. The 52 getting the worst of it, and Joel Guy, the number 91, taking a little bit of a hit right there. Looks like a classic example of a driver sliding up. Talk to us about that scenario.
Well, I'm watching the live feed, and I'm a little bit behind, so yeah, if that's a 14, maybe he came up a little bit. I'm looking at it now. Hold on.
Always good to get a second opinion. Now this truck, these guys have got to get some rubber down on this track, but the tires are going to be absolutely crucial out here tonight.
Absolutely. The runs that I did, the truck did start getting tight. I think you got to back off early getting into the turns. Just take your time and race the track and not the other drivers.
Jason Russo making his way into pit row along with the number 91. Both trucks having slight damage. Hopefully the number 52 will be able to get back out there. Not quite sure how damaged the 52 was on that incident.
Yeah, I'm on a little bit of a delay here, so bear with me. You know, The 52 did get the worst of it. Maybe Jason got some damage on the right side. I'm sure he'll go in and fix it.
Left side damage on the 52 that we're looking at. I got a little bit of a crinkled up hood right there. But if you can get a chance to look at that damage, Dave, do you think that much damage is really worth going in and getting the backup off the hauler this early in the race?
No, I wouldn't say the backup, but maybe get as much of it repaired on pit road as you can at this point. Too early to do a fast repair.
Well, I tell you what, I hope this is definitely not a prelude to tonight's race, because last night, you know, they were out there caution-free, but these are the trucks tonight. Now, it's a whole different beast. Tell us about the difference between the Xfinity class and these Chevy Silverados and Toyota Tundras.
With my testing earlier, I felt the trucks were easier to drive. The tires held up a little bit better. And for me, the lap times didn't drop off as much as the Xfinity from last night.
Now, I do believe that the trucks are a little bit lighter with easier to drive, but you take in combination the weight differential. These trucks, once they get that heat built up, that tire, again, I cannot express the importance of the tire wear out here tonight.
Oh, absolutely. It would be very easy to go into that corner real hard and scrub them tires, and you're going to lose a lot of speed in the corner if you do that. You know, I was learning in practice to back off early, let the car turn in the corner on its own, and then coming out, you know, give it your gas.
We are back to green flag racing. Edward Bray out there in front, Ronald Hartfeld in second position. Chris Hogue making a very good, solid run for the top five. Now, something we changed from last night's race here, Dave. We lowered that fuel load. Last night, we saw 2 green flag pit stops for all the drivers, but they did actually have about a 50-lap fuel run at 75%. They've cut it down to 50%, which should equal out to about 35 laps. Do you think that's going to affect, and if so, how will that affect the drivers' runs tonight?
I think it'll probably make them push it a little bit more, knowing that they'll pit earlier. You know, last night I came in 5th last night, and believe it or not, I only did 1 pit stop.
Did you really?
Yep, came in on 63 and finished on 125.
Very nice. So you were really utilizing every ounce of fuel you had.
Yep, that was my strategy. I stuck with it. You know, you live and die by the sword, and you know, the green flag run, I figured I'm going to stay on the track. You know, my philosophy is, you know, pit road makes a difference, but the longer you stay on the track, you know, the better you'll finish.
Now, we were talking to Dave Washington last night, and I asked Dave, on a track like this track, how many hours do you approximately turn before you're ready to take it out there and race up there and for points and everything? And he said about 15 hours. So I was doing the math. We've got a 30-second track here, so that's what, 2 laps per minute, and then whatever 15 hours times 60 is, that's a whole lot of laps, to tell you what.
Well, I guess some people do have the ability to, or the time, I should say, to do that. I don't, but I do at least a couple fuel runs before a race, just to see how the truck handles in the long run. And I think that's why, you know, I benefit at kicking asphalt, you know, knowing what the car is going to do later on in the run.
Speaking of kicking asphalt, it is a team regularly running here within the KMA League. Tell us a little bit about the guys within Kicking Asphalt.
Great group of guys. There's 5 of us on the team now, but Paul Pellissier, myself, and Kevin Scott Nelson, us together, we formed our team. We've been running other sims probably at least 5 years. When we joined KMA, we brought Jason Russo on board, and this May we brought John Henderson on board. Now we don't run every night all together because of personal. I see we got a caution again. We don't race all the same nights because of personal commitments, but we all, get out there during the course of the week.
All right, copy that. And you're right, we are underneath caution. We are taking a look at it on our KMA TV replay, and it does appear that the number 64 of Lee Staples drifted up into the number 5 of Gary Whitmer, again sliding up onto that corner. Gary Whitmer taking a very hard hit right there, along with the number 64 of Lee Staples. When you get a chance there to get caught up on the feed, take a look at it. Let me know what you think, because I want your opinion, because it did appear that the truck slid up track. So maybe you can help us understand what exactly is going on. That's twice now this has happened.
Yeah, I think coming out of the corners, I think the drivers are anxious to get on that gas to go down the straightaway, and once you do that, the car is going to push up on you. I think if they wait a little bit longer coming out of that corner and straighten out the car, I think they would be fine on the straightaways.
You got to know when to push and when not to push, and throttle control out here tonight. It's just going to be plain simple and important. Are you using brakes out here on this 1 mile track?
I do. I use brakes probably at every track except for the plate tracks. Maybe that helps with my long run speed. I try and apply the most brakes to slow down the car in the corner and not scrub the tires.
I'll tell you what, you're talking about not using brakes on those plate tracks. I know a few drivers that should learn how to use some brakes when those cautions come out.
Yeah, and sometimes you do have to apply them slightly on the plate tracks just to slow the car down so that you don't run the guy over in front of you. But for the most part, you're wide open.
We are taking a look at the number 14 of Jason Russo. We're going to get a quick interview in with the number 14. How about it, Jason Russo? You got a copy?
I got you, Scott. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. We've got Dave Acacia joining us up in the booth. Dave's got a couple of questions about your race so far.
All right.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
How you doing tonight, Dave?
Good. That first caution, what happened there? Did you push it coming out? Were you on the gas too early and pushed up?
Yeah, I got up into, can't even remember what driver I got. I think it was Joel. I don't remember what driver I got into. Gary, actually. Coming out of 3 there. Just overdrove the corner and get a little too hard getting off and give him a little bump.
Yep, got to wait a little bit longer to come out of that corner. Let the car straighten out for you. If you hit the accelerator too early, it's going to push you up.
Yep, that's how it is here in New Hampshire at these flat tracks. But I think we got it all fixed up. Still got a quick repair for the night. See if we can't at least pull up a top 5 tonight.
All right, well, take your time. Just let the track come to you.
Will do. Going green.
All right, good luck to you, Jason. All right, big shout out there to Jason Russo and Pro Automotive.
Yeah, I kind of figured that's what happened, was he hit the accelerator too early coming out of that turn and pushed up.
Yep, I'm thinking so. We talk about throttle control out here. Now, you said you use brakes. I know drivers that do not use brakes. They just more so rely on the acceleration and the deacceleration, which causes you an earlier backup point than if you do use the brake system.
Yeah, sometimes I go into the corner deeper, but I use my brakes to slow the car down. I try and go in, it's hard to explain, but I try and go in kind of hard, roll through the center, and come out hard, and that gives me acceleration on the backstretch of any track.
Edward Bray leading tonight's race here on lap 17 of 125. Dan LaFoe in second. Jason Russo in third. Chris Hogue sitting back in a very, very nice fourth place position. Recent addition onto the team of Black Talon with Edward Bray and Lee Staples. Now, one of my favorite trucks out here is the number 5 of Gary Whitmer Jr. in the www.pad.org, but he's looking like he's got some left rear quarter panel damage, and it looks like he backed into a telephone pole on the left rear. Is that kind of damage going to be a factor out here on this 1 mile track?
I don't know necessarily on this track, maybe on the large cookie cutters, 1.5. Yeah, I see it now. I don't know, on a short track like this, flat track, I don't know if he'll definitely feel the effect of it, but we'll find out on the long run.
Well, right now he's got Lee Staples trying to make a run down on the inside, but Gary's up there up top holding his own. Lee Staples nose to nose, almost nose to tail. But I tell you what, the left side of the number 5, it is pretty scraped up, beat up. Going to have to send it right back to the paint shop. Lee Staples around him, but Gary coming back down onto that inside lane. So talk to me about the inside and outside lanes here, Dave. Do you have a preference? Do you have a favorite lane?
I try, on this track, I try to go in high, let the car roll in the center, and then I come out probably like the second lane up, and I usually get a pretty good run off the corner that way.
Now, as we just saw, though, these two drivers were side by side. If you're side by side and you want to get around a driver, do you take to that low lane or do you go up high? I mean, because you're not going to be able to do it in and out because he's there. You're going to have to pick one lane, high or low.
Yeah, last night, coming out low, if I was making a pass on somebody, it was extremely hard keeping that car down last night on the bottom, like the second lane up. It took me quite a while to finally get around a couple people that I was trying to advance my position. But you got to be patient. You can't let that car drift up in the corners, or else you'll see what happened with Jason and Gary tonight. That happens in the Xfinity too.
And it can take many, many laps for a driver to pass a driver. Dan LaFoe almost fish-tailing it up into that wall. No contact, but he came around that corner, and that ass end started to go up. May have just, if there had been a flea on that bumper, I think he probably would have got smashed. Edward Bray leading on lap 23. Have you got a favorite driver out here tonight other than Jason?
Well, Edward's always up there. You know, he's a good driver, and I enjoy racing with him. You know, there's a bunch of good drivers in this league, and you know, I'm not running for points because of work. You know, like tonight I'll be going out, so I'm not racing tonight. But you know, they're all great drivers to be around. Good, you know, good friends.
We've got a nice battle going on for second place between Jason Russo and Dan LaFoe, and it's like a title fight. I mean, they are just sitting here trading punches, trading passes, if you will. Jason Russo doing a great job, looking very sharp out there in the over-the-tops paint and design Napa Pro Automotive truck. Jason Russo, a teammate of David Casia with Kickin' Asphalt. Now, we were talking about that when that caution came out. Tell us a little bit about your leader out there, Paul Pellizier.
Yeah, Paul's a good guy. You know, like I said, we've known each other at least 5 years. He's a great guy to be around. I'm usually texting him or talking to him on the phone, you know, a couple times a week, and we communicate about the team, and, you know, we have a great time, you know, racing together. We've done it over 5 years in different sims.
Well, tell me about some of the sims that you have run out there before, because I hear there's just nothing like iRacing, but what are some of the older simulators out there?
Well, there was a mod for R Factor that we had going called Stock Car Sim Series. We pepped a lot of the physics on it, and I did a lot of the graphics in that sim. Also, Arca Sim Racing we were involved in, and NASCAR racing, 2003.
Awesome, awesome stuff. I remember R Factor, but I never got into the mod. And R Factor, what made it so odd compared to what we're running now, you drove outside of the vehicle. When you drive in iRacing, you are inside that vehicle at all times. That's the only way there is to drive. This is as close to the real life thing that you could possibly get to.
Oh yeah, when we had our stock R sim series for R Factor, we tried very much to replicate some of the feeling in iRacing too, because we were involved with both in that time. But we ran it mostly for fun. But those cars, you did have to drive them, and you paid for it. Tire wear, you paid for it if you drove that car extremely hard, just like you do here.
Lap 29 of 125, 96 to go. Already looking at some lap times. The lap times are beginning to fall off. Chris Hogue with the last lap of a 30.694. His fast lap was a 30.214. Now last night, something that we really noticed was as the drivers were cycling through their green flag pit stops, they'd get on that fresh tires and they would come out here and just be blowing the times away.
Oh yeah, some guys pitted in the early 50 laps last night. When I pitted on lap 63, when I came out, I noticed an extreme difference in just those 10 or so laps with my fresher tires as well.
So just after 10 laps, you're already feeling the difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think last night I started 13th and finished 5th, so, the long run sort of paid off, but not the strategy in the long run with Washington up there. But the majority of the field finished one lap down, and I was on that one lap, so I consider that a success.
In-car camera with Dan LaFoe taking you around this 1 mile short speedway, if you will. You get down on that backstretch, and it's almost got the look and feel of Talladega, but you don't top out at 200 miles per hour. These drivers are looking at going into that backstretch, topping out at about 120, 129. Dan LaFoe up to 150, and backing her down at 150, backing it down to 198, 94. So you're talking 150 down to 94 miles per hour. That's a big speed change.
Yep, and that corner comes up quicker than you think, and that's why I try and let off early, give it a little bit of brake, and let the car roll, because that corner will come up on you quick.
Dan LaFoe all over the rear end of Jason Russo here on lap 34 of 125. Just does not seem to be able to get around him. Trying one more time. Oh, he's close, tighter than a hair in a biscuit, almost having contact coming out of that corner. I tell you what, Dave, wait until you see the shot on that one there, because I was hanging on to my seat. He's got a run coming down on the inside, side by side with Dan LaFoe and Jason Russo.
Yeah, they're I think the high line actually will prevail, because it's hard passing on the bottom, but it depends on the tire wear too. I mean, Jason could have used his stuff up early trying to catch Edward, and it's coming back to Dan now, so you never know until you get into a long run.
A little bit of contact there from the number 11, giving the number 14 a little chrome horn, if you will, here on lap 35. There was definite contact right there, not enough to disrupt any momentum, but the number 11, don't think he meant to do it, but made contact there onto the rear end of the 14 and still can't get around him.
Yeah, I just saw the tap, so that's how far behind I am. But yeah, even when you're up high in those corners, you still got to slow the truck down not to hit the outside wall. So even if you're up high and rolling it, you still got to be careful coming out of those corners.
This is your race for second place. Checking on a couple of other drivers, we've got in fourth position the number 6 of Chris Hogue. Chris Hogue pulling the last lap of the 30.591. Those lap times definitely slowing down, and he's being chased down by the number 15 of Ronald Hartfeld and the number 64 of Lee Staples. Now next week, Dave, we're going to be doing something way different here with KMA Racing. We're heading off to do some right-hand turns over at Watkins Glen. A road course, if you will. What are your thoughts on Watkins Glen?
I think it's going to be fun. I've already put some laps in. I'm getting my strategy together. And I think it's going to be pretty fun.
And what kind of lap times are you putting down there at the Glen?
I think I was doing low 115s in the Xfinity and probably like 116s, I believe, in the trucks. But don't mark my words on it because, you know, I wasn't pushing it. I was just getting laps in, getting my, you know, my fuel run in, see how the, you know, so I may pick it up a little bit or I may drop it depending on strategy.
Well, I tell you what, that's going to be really interesting because a lot of these drivers, you know, are mainly a group of oval type drivers. A lot of them don't know how to turn right. So they're going to be out of their domain. It's just going to be an amazing thing to watch next week. Edward Bray putting Ivan Garcia, first driver, one lap down as Edward goes by Ivan Garcia. Edward Bray leading 40 laps.
Yeah, so far Edward's having a good night. I don't know what the gap is, but you know, he's got to make it last, and he'll be in good shape.
Dan LaFoe, Jason Russo still battling, trying to work their way around the number 72 of Ivan Garcia. Now last night, Ivan Garcia, a little bit slower on the track, but I tell you what, he was a perfect gentleman all night long, giving the leaders their preferred lane. How does that preferred lane for the leader thing work out here? You know, at the speedways, we always say, you know, lap traffic up high, packs coming at you, we want the low lanes. Here at New Hampshire, is it just corner dependent on where you want that slower traffic to go to?
Oh, absolutely. You want to keep up your momentum in the turns because then if you get pinched down, you know, it's going to slow your lap times and, you know, it may come back to bite you later on. You know, you'd want the preferred line, especially in a track like this where it's so tight coming out of the corners.
Joel Guy back in 9th place. Joel Guy, a few laps down, must have gotten into a little bit of early trouble out here, but he's still motivating around this 1 mile speedway. Gary Whitmer sitting back into 8th position, 1 lap down. Gary Whitmer in the Hunter Pad Chevy Silverado, brought to you by Diamond Racing Graphics. Cecil Jackson, head painter for Pad, People Against Distracted Driving. If you're interested in running any of Cecil's paints, check him out on Trading Paints. That is a nice looking paint job there being driven by the number 52. You gotta love the purple. You gotta love the Pad emblems. Caution is out. Caution on the number 91 of Joel Guy. Joel Guy coming around that track, took a hard hit on the inside wall. Coming around, and he starts to drift up a little bit. Smacking the wall, we're seeing sparks down into the grass. Wicked hit back into the field of traffic, though. But I do believe all the drivers actually ghost moded through the number 91. But I tell you what, Dave, when you see this hit, that was just an unbelievably hard hit on the number 91.
Yeah, it's coming up now. Hold on.
He had some definite momentum going on. If he had a a rotor shaft, he could have been a helicopter, I tell you what.
Yeah, I think Joel should have slowed that truck down a little bit as he drifted up into the top wall. But you pay the price. Once you hit that and you slide inside, you're on the grass. You're going to hit that inside wall as well.
Now at this point in time, we're on lap 46. Is track position more important, or is tires and fuel more important?
Lap 46. I think track position right now. I did a fuel run, and the fuel run was 59 laps in the truck, but you did drop it, so I don't know what it is now. But right now I think it's probably track position right now.
Edward Bray, Dan LaFoe, Chris Hogue making out our top three. Lee Staples, Ronald Hartfeld, Ivan Garcia, Jason Russo, Gary Whitmer Sr., Joel Guy back into ninth position. Joel Guy into pit row, Gary Whitmer Sr. into pit row as well. So a bit of a different night than last night overall. 3 cautions here, not even to the halfway point. Last night they were caution free, so you're blaming the difference on the vehicle.
I think not all the drivers, some of the drivers are pushing it more than they did last night. You know, I pace myself and let it come to me. That's why you don't see me till the end of the race. You know, if I have a good finish, I'm in the back most of the time just because I'm pacing myself, learning for the end.
Now Edward Bray has been the majority leader here, leading 47 laps, leading all the laps out here so far tonight. That's a lot of pressure there on Edward, and he's had Dan LaFoe tight on his heels. Now the only difference between this and the restart is Edward's down on the inside, Dan's on the outside. On the start of tonight's race, we had Dan down on the inside and Ed up on the outside. On your restarts, Dave, do you prefer inside or outside?
Like the outside, and I wish iRacing would do that, but we'll see what happens. But what Edward has to do here is get a good launch, and once he passes the start-finish line, if he can clear that 11 car, get up high and set up the corner entry.
Get up high and stay ahead. Simple as that. Find your groove, find your line, hit your marks, and you'll be just fine. 9 drivers still in, pace car in. And there goes Edward Bray. And he does indeed start to maneuver up high. Good 2 truck lengths difference. Number 6, Chris Hogue, trying to come around the number 11 on the inside lane. Chris Hogue losing a little bit of momentum, and here comes the number 64 of Lee Staples in 4th position. Jason really had to lay the brakes down on there to stay off of the number 64 for 5th place.
Yep, Edward did exactly what he was supposed to do on that restart. I'm seeing it now. He cleared the 11 on the restart, and once he passed the start-finish line, he went up high and set himself up for the corner entry, which was exactly what I would have done.
Unfortunately, Gary Whitmer Jr. out of tonight's race due to a work call. I just got the message on my phone. Well, when work calls, you got to go.
Yep, that's where I'm going in probably about 10 minutes.
Copy that. Now, I do understand you're on the road quite a bit, especially up there around the New Jersey area. We've got a couple of drivers in here showing their support for a pad. Now, New Jersey is pad territory for sure. Do you see a lot of improvement up there on the distracted driving scene?
I don't know about improvement. You know, I drive in New York City. I drive in New Jersey. I see people on their phones texting all the time. You know, I drive part-time for a limo company. And when you're on the highway, when you're on the New Jersey Turnpike, you see people on their phones, you see people texting, and it's like, it's crazy. What I do is I get all my texts ready before I leave the house on who I'm sending my text to when I get to the airport. And once I get off the New Jersey Turnpike, I'm off on the side and I hit send. So I'm prepared in advance and it doesn't bother me on the way up.
There you go. That sounds like a mighty fine idea and a definite way to keep safe. People Against Distracted Driving, check them out at pad.org or on Facebook.
Yeah, the story with Nikki is very heartbreaking. I'm probably like 45 minutes north of the Kalani's, and you know, every time I look at that beautiful girl, it's very heartbreaking.
We do run a monthly race for PAD 266 once a month on the first Sunday of the month to honor Nikki's memory and hopefully spread and educate a few more drivers, a few more fans about the dangers of distracted driving on the first Sunday of every month. 100 laps of Talladega in the trucks. Dan LaFoe side by side with the number 66 of Edward Bray. Slight contact. Not jarring 66 though, but I tell you what, Dan LaFoe, he has not given up on trying to get up there to the front.
Yeah, we don't know what Dan was doing at the beginning of the race. Maybe he was pacing, you know, maybe he had a strategy, but, you know, as it gets later on in the race, it's time to go, you know.
Well, he could very well just be sitting here hanging out. We may not even know what Dan has underneath the hood of that Chevy Silverado. He just may be sitting here playing cat and mouse.
Oh, absolutely. He could be saving his tires. You know, maybe that's what he was doing all along, and now he feels comfortable on the track and is ready to challenge Edward.
Not going to count out the number 6 of Chris Hogue. Chris Hogue 1.8 seconds back. Lee Staples, 2.2 back. Jason Russo, 2.9 back. Still really is anybody's game.
Oh, yeah. Fuel strategy could play into this. You know, a late caution could play into this. It's still too early. It'll be too early for me because we're not even halfway yet. But, you know, these guys know when it's time to go.
Still counting on another green flag pit stop. Hoping for a green flag pit stop. Haven't seen him yet. Tonight's race definitely a little bit more different than next week. Now, we talked about next week. We're going to close it out in 2 weeks at Homestead. Now, what are your thoughts on Homestead? That's a mighty fine track.
Oh, yeah. Homestead is fun to drive. You know, I remember having some extremely good finishes there. You know, as long as I'm not working, I'll be there. You know, any night I'm not working, I like to race. So, you know, that's my downtime. Like, I don't do enough driving, but, you know, it's fun. I enjoy doing this, and you know, I'm 55 years old, and I don't do it to win. I do it to have fun and, you know, be competitive, but, you know, I do it mostly for fun.
Side by side, Lee Staples and the number 6 of Chris Hogue here almost at the halfway point, lap 60 of 125. Now, I know that you need to be cutting loose and getting on with your evening situation that you got. I want to thank you, Dave, for joining me in the booth here. Jason Russo almost fish-selling it. Your final thoughts on tonight's race before you take off?
I think as long as Edward keeps it together, I think he'll do great tonight. Possibly he'll win. It's, you know, way too early yet. You know, there's other drivers back there that may have something else to say about that. But I wish everybody to stay green, have fun, and be competitive.
All right. Alrighty, and on that note, we are underneath caution. And Dave, I'm going to let you go, and I thank you, sir, for hanging out with me.
Oh, anytime. Hopefully we can do it again.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, fourth caution is out. Jason Russo up into that wall just a hair. I do believe it involved the number 64 of Lee Staples. That will be the fourth caution of tonight. At the halfway point, I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, great time to take a commercial break. And we'll be right back with you. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Lap 66 of 125, just past the halfway point, underneath our fourth caution of the night, totaling out at 15 laps. We've had two lead changes between Edward Bray and Ivan Garcia. Edward Bray leading 65 laps out here tonight. Dan LaFoe has pretty much been in second position on most of the night. Lee Staples in third, Chris Hogue in fourth position. Ivan Garcia back into fifth, and away they go. Off to racing one more time. Lee Staples, Dan LaFoe side by side for second position. Ivan Garcia dropping towards the rear of the field. Number 52, Gary Whitmer in fifth position, still strong. Ivan Garcia dropping to the rear of the field, completely to the rear of the field. Ronald Hartfeld in 6th position. Gary Whitmer Sr. in 7th. Or in 5th. Gary Whitmer in 5th position. But he's got Ronald Hartfeld all over him. Ronald Hartfeld running a very smart and smooth race out here tonight. No hurry, no worry. Still got a long time to get the job done. Only 2.6 seconds back of our race leaders. Good racing between here, the 52 and the 15. Neck and neck for Ronald and Gary Whitmer Sr. It's a little bit of a different night out here than last night. Last night going caution free. Everett Bray, our current race leader. Dan LaFoe in 2nd. Good racing out here tonight. A couple more cautions than we had last night. And we've got Dan LaFoe and Edward Bray. That'll be a caution. Contact between our two race leaders. It's like Dan LaFoe just maybe drifting up just a hair. I tell you what, that is some hard, good racing right there. Can't even say that Dan drifted up. I don't see Edward going down. I don't see Dan really going up. Take a look at it one more time here from rear view camera of Dan LaFoe. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I'll let you decide on that one there. Dan LaFoe not getting too much damage. Edward Bray not too much worse for wear. That will bring out a caution. Now that will hurt the left front of Edward Bray. Not too terrible though. Not too terrible at all. Edward Bray deciding to stay out. Dan LaFoe, see how much damage Dan acquired from that. You know, not much damage at all. Not much damage at all for either of these two drivers. Dan LaFoe still going into pit row. I'll put Lee Staples out there on that front line here on 75 of 125, 50 to go. That will be our 5th caution of the night. Definitely a different race out here than last night. pit road strategy not really shaping up to be a factor tonight. Drivers actually may be good to go on this pit stop. Lee Staples staying out, possibly playing a fuel strategy. Be interesting to see if this caution really makes a darn.
Yeah. Sure.
Lap 76 of 125. And I tell you what, we were talking to Dave earlier, and the trucks are drifting and slipping and sliding. A little bit lighter than last night's weight class. Lee Staples leading 3 laps out here. Edward Bray leading 73. Edward Bray still sitting in a very solid 3rd place position. Ronald Hartfield over into 4th. Chris Hogue sitting in 5th. Gary Whitmer Sr. back into 6th. Ivan Garcia in 7th. Joel Guy in 8th. Unfortunately, Jason and Gary Whitmer Jr. both out. Pace car is in.
Green flag.
Lee Staples, I'm not sure what happened right there on that restart. That was definitely a very bad restart there on lap 78. Dan LaFoe taking the brunt of it, and making his way back. Dan LaFoe down onto the inside. Dan LaFoe, Lee Staples, 1 and 2. Dan drops. He's got a run on the inside of the number 64. Tell you what, folks, these 2 drivers, 46 to go, they are racing hard. Edward Bray back into 3rd. Caution is out. Caution involving the number 91 and the number 52, I do believe. Joel Guy into the number 52. Ivan Garcia sustaining damage as well. Tough break there for Joel Guy and Gary Whitmer Sr. Take a look at it underneath one more angle. 6th caution of the night. Looks like Joel Guy just may not have used enough brake. Joel Guy, Gary Whitmer Sr. involved in the 6th caution of tonight here at New Hampshire in the Chevy Silverados and Toyota Tundras. Rough night out here tonight at New Hampshire. Ivan Garcia into pit road, taking repairs onto the 72 tied Silverado. Gary Whitmer Jr. will be needing to get in there for repairs as well. Back-to-back cautions here. I tell you what, it is wearing and tearing. Driver fatigue possibly becoming a factor. Dan LaFoe out in front, followed by Lee Staples, Edward Bray, Ronald Hartfeld, Gary Whitmer Sr., Chris Hogue into 6th position. So if you didn't pit prior, do you pit now? Drivers passing up pit row. Nobody really seems to be that concerned with getting into pit row. Going to be an interesting battle one more time for Dan LaFoe and Lee Staples. The last restart was kind of crazy. Not sure if Lee spun his tires on that start or what happened, but slight contact with Dan LaFoe. Dan LaFoe fought back, got back up there, and then in the rear of the field, a little bit further back, caution comes out. And all that hard work Dan had done ended up basically being for naught. Joel Guy sitting in pit row, taking a bit of a breather. Going to get a chat in with Joel Guy. How about it, Joel Guy? Have you got a copy?
I got a copy, Scott.
Bit of a rough night out here tonight for you. How's it going?
You're right. It's been a rough night. I'm done.
All right. Sorry to hear that, buddy. What's going on out here? Because tonight is way different than last night.
Well, the trucks are not quite as stable. If you touch the wall, they bounce off and come across the track. So if you get into the wall, you're going to hit somebody if there's anybody close to you. The other piece of it is that you touch the rear end of the trucks. They're so light in the back end that you're going to spin the person if you barely touch them under braking, whereas the cars were more stable and you could ride up on the bumper and not spin the driver.
All righty, copy that. Well, I tell you what, it has thinned this field out quite a bit. Have you got any favorites out here tonight?
Well, I'm thinking that Black Talon's going to do pretty good tonight. They've been running up front consistently, and all three of those drivers are in good position to run up front and possibly win.
Well, now, not on this restart, but the prior restart we had, there was a little bit of trouble up there between Lee and Dan. There was definite contact. Did somebody spin their tires? What's the word on the track on that?
I don't know yet, Scott. I have not looked at the replay to see. It looks, from what I've heard on the radio, one driver just got too close to the other one on the restart. Now, whether it was because of tire spin or it was just they went over too close to the driver trying to draft off the side of him, I don't know.
Well, the reason I mentioned that is talking to Dave earlier, he talked about the importance of tires, and it's not very often we see a tire spin, but it can happen. These trucks out here tonight, with 39 to go, these drivers definitely they're in go mode.
Definitely they're in go mode, and the tires will spin on the trucks easier than they will the cars. I don't know why. They're the same tires, basically the same chassis. It's just a different body sitting on top of it. But the cars seem to have a little bit better control.
Now this Dan LaFoe fella, he's kind of new to KMA, but I tell you what, he was out here last night, made a good showing. Tonight, he's up here in first place right now with 38 to go. How's Dan been doing for you tonight?
Well, Dan's been driving good from what I could see. I mean, I've been in the back all night, so I couldn't really see him that much because he's been up close to the front. But he definitely come across I'm looking at the replay now, and he definitely come up into the 64's lane on that restart. Now, I don't know if he spun the tires or not. Fixing to go in car with him and see if I see the RPMs jump up or something like that that would indicate spinning the tires while he's taking off for the restart.
Well, we knew there was definite contact. I mean, that much was evident, but I just really could not tell which driver may or may not have been at fault, or if it was just a racing incident and they just got too tight.
Well, from what I see, from looking at the replay, it looked like to me that Dan, instead of staying up in the upper lane, cut down into the center, so he actually changed lanes, tried to change lanes before the start, which is a no-no, but
easy to do here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's easy to do, and so I'm not going to, as the admin, I'm not going to penalize anybody for doing it because they didn't officially change lanes.
Right. Well, right now he's got a good run out there on Edward Bray. Ronald Hartfield's still at 1 second back. We've still got a lot of racing to go out here. And I'm watching Dan LaFoe, and he's getting very, very tight up under that wall. What is the purpose of getting so tight on that wall?
Well, he might have a way of driving up against that wall and getting keeping his RPMs up, and keeping his momentum up there instead of cutting down and cutting his momentum off and dragging speed off by turning the tires. But I'm not sure about that.
Right now he is turning lap times of a 30.516 compared to a 30.285 of Edward Bray. So Edward Bray should be catching up to him. Ronald Hartfield at a 30.8. Ronald Hartfield definitely a little bit slower, but holding steady in the third place.
Yeah, as the tires wear, I'm sure Ed would probably catch up to Dan, because Ed will be saving his tires. He won't be pitching it down or pushing it on the outside wall to try to keep speed up and dragging the rubber off the tires by sliding them.
We'll definitely be keeping an eye on Edward Bray, because it could be a situation of a cat and mouse situation, and same thing could be said about Ronald Hartfeld. He's hovering at about 1.5, 1.4 back off of Dan LaFoe, about 1 second off of Edward Bray. Edward Bray a half a second off of Dan. These three drivers are very, very tight still.
Yeah, they're for this track, that's very tight. I mean, bumper to bumper would be even tighter, but even at this track, if you're within a half a second of the driver, you're not out of contention.
Well, we've got Chris Hogue, and he's sitting at 4.5 back. Gary Whitmer at 13.7. Ivan Garcia at 14.1. So nice little race here between Ivan and Gary Whitmer Sr. as well.
Yeah, and I wish I hadn't have got into Gary Sr. on that last caution that I caused. I just hit the brakes and it didn't slow down enough. I got into his rear corner, and of course when I did, it sent him around.
Gary Whitmer Sr. definitely showing that rear end damage, but I tell you what, the rest of the truck looks absolutely great, so I don't think that it's really going to affect the maneuverability of the 52 tonight.
Now, you can run at this track as long as you don't bend up the grill, the front end, and bend it in and block the oil cooler and blow the motor. You can run this track with front end or rear end damage and still stay at considerable speed.
Now, next week, Joel, we're going to be heading off to Watkins Glen. Are the guys talking about that much?
They haven't yet. Going to be interesting. went and practiced at Watkins Glen a little bit today before I flew in here to New Hampshire to run this race, and it was a little bit loose with the truck that I was practicing with. I'm going back tomorrow and probably try the Xfinity car on that track and see how it handles on that track tomorrow.
Now, David told me that he was running lap times out there of about a 1:15 in the cars and about a 1:16 in the trucks. Is that about what you're running?
Nowhere near it. I'm not a road course person, and that's why I opted to have a practice session, get my haulers to haul my two vehicles up there so I can practice this week before we go next week out there, and try to get some extra practice in.
It's going to be different. I tell you what, instead of turning left all the time, they will be turning right. And they're going to have the bus stop in there to contend with, which is a sharp right, around the loop, back up, back out on track. Bus stop's going to be a definite challenge next week for a lot of drivers.
Well, yeah, the bus stop's not as sharp as it has to be, though. If you cut on the curb, you can pretty much go through there almost straight to where you have to turn very little.
But practice is indeed going to be the key word. Now, speaking of practice, talking to Dave Washington last night, leading 121 laps out here at New Hampshire in the Xfinity class, said he'll put in about 15 hours on a track just practicing and practicing. Now, that's a boatload of laps, I'll tell you what.
Definitely it's a boatload of laps. I wish I had the time to put in that kind of hours on the track, but I have other responsibilities that don't afford me the time to sit down at my computer and run for 15 hours worth of practice laps at any one given time, or any week for that matter.
Definitely a lot of time put into it, but I tell you what, it paid off last night. And I'm thinking that Dan LaFoe and Edward Bray tonight, they have probably put in some time out here very strong. Dan started side by side with Edward Bray up in tonight's race. They started up 1 and 2, obviously, and right now they are 1 and 2 with 22 to go. You're still thinking Ed's got something and he's holding back as he goes for that pass.
Yeah, I think Ed's been holding back. I think he's gonna blow by him on this turn.
Oh, Ronald Hartfeld is coming up fast too. Ronald Hartfeld coming up very, very fast. Maybe Ronald has been the sleeper tonight.
Yeah, I think between Ed and Ronald, they've saved enough that they can get by Dan, and Dan just got into the edge of the wall, so that's not going to help him.
Edward Bray staying down on that interior. Ronald Hartfeld down on the interior. Dan preferring that outer lane. Now, do you think Dan's being smart by staying up higher track?
Well, higher up on the track you are, the less momentum you lose going through the corners. It rolls through the corners better. However, that's the longest way around the track. So if you can get back on the gas a little bit quicker than the car on the outside, you can pass them on the inside and then move up high yourself after you've gotten by. That's very seldom do you see anybody get by somebody on the outside, unless the car on the inside just lets them go because they're lapped down.
Edward Bray utilizing every bit of this track that he can, still sitting at about a half a second back. Ronald Hartfeld right there at 0.8 back, side by side. Edward Bray almost side by side, trying to get as much draft off of Dan LaFoe that he possibly can and get a run, but not much draft out here at New Hampshire.
No, they don't draft much at New Hampshire. New Hampshire's a short track, basically. I mean, it's a little over a mile, so it's classified as short track because it's fast, but it's flat, It don't have a lot of banking, so you can't hold a lot of speed in the corners.
I tell you what, this is some really good racing up here in front between Dan and Edward, but I'm not counting Ronald out yet. Ronald comes out of those corners, and he has got such a huge run. I keep thinking he's going to catch him, but it's the exit, I think, that is hurting Ronald Hartfield. Edward Bray just seems to leave him on those exits.
Yeah, Edward pulls away off the exit from Ronald. Ronald runs up on him because he's letting it roll through the corner a little bit more than Ed. But Ed pulls away in the corner, and Ed's getting by Dan right now on the back stretch.
Oh, and here comes Ronald. Ronald down on the inside lane. Dan keeps getting too high up onto that wall, and Edward Bray has made the pass. Edward Bray successfully passing, but here comes Ronald, and they're looking like they could go 3 wide possibly.
Well, you could do 3 wide here, but it'd be tight.
Contact between Ed and Dan, giving Ronald the break that he may need. But they're going to be coming up on some lap traffic. It's going to be a great finish, but they're coming up onto some lap traffic up here, and that could be a deciding factor. Ronald Hartfield all over the rear end of Edward Bray.
Yeah, you could throw a blanket over those 3 trucks.
Dan going into pit row. Heartbreaker for Dan. Well, I tell you what, that changes everything. Now the question is, has Edward Bray or Ronald Hartfield got enough fuel?
Well, the thing is, as far back as the next cars are from them, they could probably let off, well, it looks like all 3 of them's going to be pitting. Looks like 15 and 66 are pitting.
Edward Bray into pit row. Ronald Hartfield into pit row. This could be an upset. Does Ivan have enough fuel?
Knowing Ivan the way I know him, he's probably been saving fuel and he'll go for it.
Why possibly? I tell you what, Edward and Ronald have got to pull off some very quick pit stops. It helps that they're up there in second and third. That empty spot up there belonging to Dan LaFoe. Dan LaFoe already out and back out onto that track. Ronald beating the number 66 Edward Bray out. Edward Bray spinning it coming out. Heartbreaker for Edward Bray. Oh my goodness, Joel. That's going to be a factor.
Yeah, he took on, I think he took on 2 tires and spun it. He got on the gas too hard on right off the edge of pit road, and it just come around with it.
I tell you what, that's a heartbreaker right there for Edward Bray. I do believe he maybe had this wrapped up. Ivan Garcia out there in front, but here comes Ronald Hartfield.
Yeah, Ronald Hartfield's got a. Once he catches Ivan, when he catches Ivan, he'll have probably about a 2-second lead on Dan LaFoe, and
Dan
he'll
is
have
charging.
it in the bag, I think.
Well, Dan is charging. Ronald Hartfield coming around the number 72 of Ivan Garcia, putting Ivan into second place, but Dan is 1.5 back. Lee Staples is 4.3 back in closing. Well, I tell you what, Joel, I'm going to put you back with the guys here in just a couple of laps. Any closing thoughts as we are going to be wrapping this race up here in about 9 laps? Overall, not a terrible race, but a lot different than last night.
definitely a lot different than last night. We had a lot more drivers last night, and it made for better racing, in my opinion. But the trucks, like I said, different animal. They just don't drive as good as the Xfinity cars on this track.
Now, do you think Dan's going to be able to catch Ronald here in about 8 laps?
No.
All right, well, I tell you what, he is 8. He is 1.1 back. He's got 8 to do it. We're going to keep a close eye on Dan. Hey, I appreciate you helping me out, Joel. Tough luck there about your race tonight, but I tell you what, you gave it the old heave-ho and gung-ho and all that jazz. You did a great job, and I appreciate your help up here.
Well, you're welcome, Scott. And, have a good time finishing up on your broadcast.
Lap 118 of 125, 7 to go. Dan LaFoe 1.4 back. Ronald Hartfeld out there in front. Edward Bray taking a spin coming out of pit row. Heartbreaker 4. Edward Bray, Ivan Garcia in 3rd position, 5 back. Lee Staples closing on Ivan Garcia. In frame, we've got our race leader and Dan LaFoe. Dan LaFoe up to 1.3. Dan LaFoe at 1.5 off of our race leader. Tell you what, if Dan LaFoe is going to get it, he's got to get into it right now. Ronald Hartfeld still not necessarily able to feel comfortable up there yet. Got to be very careful not to spin that truck. And that's something we have seen tonight. We've seen several drivers spin. We've seen some bumper humping. We've seen 6 cautions, several spin outs. Maybe we ought to allow sandbags to go into the bed of these trucks. That seems to be the problem out here tonight, is just not enough weight into the back of the truck. And you ask them coming spinning out, like Joel said, you touch the rear end of these Chevy Silverados and Toyota Tundras, and they're going to go for a spin. Ronald Hartfeld out there in front leading his 6th lap of the night. Dan LaFoe leading 31. Lee Staples leading 5. Ivan Garcia leading 3. Edward Bray in 5th place leading 76. So Edward Bray leading the most laps out here tonight, easily leading the most laps. But the only lap that really matters is the last lap. Right now it appears that may be led by Ronald Hartfeld. Next week we are heading off to Watkins Glen. The following week we're going to finish it up at Homestead, and we'll announce a M&M TNT race winner, Monday Night Mania Tuesday Night Truck Combined Series. Tonight is race 5 of 7. Points will be posted up tomorrow on Facebook. $123 of 125. 124 of 125. Stay tuned post-race for post-race interviews. Ronald Hartfeld seconds away from winning our Tuesday Night Truck Series. $125 of 125. That'll do it, ladies and gentlemen. Ronald Hartfeld will win tonight's 125 lap race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We're going to get in some race interviews with Ronald Hartfeld and our other top 3 drivers. Talking to Lee Staples. How about Lee Staples? You got a copy?
Got you, Scott.
I tell you what, third place. What are you thinking? That's pretty good.
I'll take it. I was just hanging around. Didn't have anything for anybody, but I'll take it. It's not one of my better tracks.
Well, I tell you what, we had a lot of fun out there watching you. But I want to talk briefly about your teammate. You know, I really thought that Edward Bray had it all wrapped up, but had a little bit of a spin incident coming out of pit row. But it was a good thing that at least one of the other 3 drivers out here representing Black Talon got a podium.
Yeah, that's the reason you have teammates. So if 2 fail, one still has a shot to get on the podium, and it's real tight coming out of the pit lane down there in turn 2. And now that they've added the cones, it's just you're almost scraping the wall there coming out of the pits.
All right, well, I tell you what, I had a lot of fun watching you and talking about you. You did a good job out here tonight. Congratulations to you, Lee Staples.
Thank you, Scott.
Pulling in second position, we've got Dan LaFoe. How about it, Dan?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Oh, kind of relieved that I'm podium, you know.
Well, I tell you what, that last restart, it was a little rough. You and Ed, a little bit of beating, a little bit of banging. Your truck looks a little bit scuffed up there on the left side, but you brought home an extremely solid second position. Talk to me about those laps there along with Edward Bray.
Yeah, that wasn't intentional, you know. I just didn't brake in time and turned him. Tried to save him, but caution came out, and but you know, the restarts, he kept getting me on the restarts. I had nothing for him. But all in all, great night.
All right, now I know you're relatively new to the KMA Racing League, and I tell you what, we are impressed. We hope you're impressed. Great job on position number 2. I'm going to throw you up there in channel with the guys so you can maybe talk to Ed about it.
All right, thank you guys.
And that is Dan LaFoe. Now our race winner for the night, we've got Ronald Hartfeld. How about it, Ron? You got a copy?
Yes, Scott. Yeehaw, baby.
Yeehaw, indeed. Talk to me about when that break opened up for you there with Edward Bray.
That was a wonderful thing, man. I was following those 2 guys, and they were fighting pretty hard, so it gave me a chance to select 2 tires and put 3.4 gallons of gas in there, and it got me right to the end in a lead on them out of the pit.
All right, so you made some good decisions out there. Partially got a little bit of lucky with some other drivers beating and banging. Is this one of your better tracks?
Yeah, I like the short tracks. I seem to do better on them.
Now, what are your thoughts next week as we move into Watkins Glen?
I love the road courses. I hope I can race this summer. I've been spotty on the track. It's been a busy summer, but I'm looking forward to next week.
All righty, I tell you what, you did one hell of a job out here. Ronald Hartfeld winning at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Good job, Ron.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up. Flash those race results. Watch Ronald Hartfeld do a little spin in the Napa Auto Parts. He deserved it. He won it. He owned it. Great job there to Ronald Hartfeld. As we flash those race results, we're going to work on getting on out of here. I am Scott Kolovic. This is KMA TV, and we'll catch you in the next one.